Meeting in the Sherman County Board of Commissioners comes to order. First on the agenda is open session. If anyone has something addressed, Lucy, either come forward or go to the mic, whichever you wish.
I am Lucy.
You might pull that microphone down to you. There you go. Thank you.
I am Lucy Sides Ackerman. I was born and raised here in Gillen. I've seen a lot of changes in our city and county in my 85 years. Our economy has dropped and our real estate taxes are out of sight. My house was built in '78. My taxes are $3,000 and it's not even brick. When I questioned them about them, they told me it was in the same category as John Golden's. I wished I had his house and he had mine. Nothing has changed. In 1977, my husband, Charles Sides, was killed at the sugar factory. I had two young boys, two 12-year-old boys to raise by myself. The sugar factory was in bankruptcy, so all I got was workman's comp. Wilda Runzel was the county treasurer at that time. She gave me a job. She taught me everything that pertained to that job: motor vehicle, titles, taxes. I did all the posting of the money that came into the treasurer's office and went out. I wrote all the receipts for both. We took money from all the offices every night and counted it: Road and Bridge, County Health, Appraiser, Registered Deeds. I helped with the distributions of Goodland, 352 School, 314 School in Brewster, Library, City of Goodland, and City of Canarado. Signed all the paychecks. If there were any misappropriated funds, the auditors and commissioners would have found it. We never got any money from the sheriff's office. So if there was any question of their money, it was solved at that time. It wasn't just the last 12 years. It started way back when Eric Armstrong with Ed Butts was sheriffs. They never brought money into our office. I never sat through a meeting where there was so much belittling and badgering of a county employee than there was this sheriff. No county employee deserves that kind of treatment, and it should have been stopped. The Bible says, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. How many would like to sit and listen to them being badgered and belittled? I bet not many. I feel that Ms. West's presentation to you on the bank statements was water under the bridge. It should never have been brought up. One time we were off 2 cents on the taxes, and we hunted it until we found it. I've known a lot of sheriffs, some good, some not so good. None of the sheriffs I knew would take the time to spend time with our youth or direct traffic at the school in all kinds of weather to make sure those little ones got safe. And through an epidemic like COVID, take water to the buses that come to town so all those people had water to drink morning and night. Like Sheriff Burton Canalto did. I feel like that there's some things said about our sheriff in the last meeting that was all uncalled for and not true. Each department had guidelines that they had to follow. If there was any questions on them, the auditors and commissioners would have picked it up. When Wilder retired, Shelby Miller was the treasurer. I was her deputy for 16 years. I trained Shelby, Glenda Garrett, Sandy Filkins in automotive. I did sales tax report. My husband was in surgery in Denver, and I got a call from Shelby asking me how to do the sales tax. I told her over the phone. The wage scale was never fair. I hadn't had a raise for 3 years. The commissioner said no raises until we got out from underneath the tax lid, and that was in October of 1998. The clerk gave her helper a 50-cent raise, and I asked the commissioners why, and I told them I hadn't had a raise for 3 years because I was at the top and couldn't get any more raises. They told me that that was not true, that I should wait till we got out from underneath the tax lid in April, and I would get my raises. One of the commissioners said, "Why don't you just retire?" So I waited. Shelby came up for re-election, and she told me I had to change from Republican to Democrat to vote so I could vote for her, or I didn't have a job. So I changed, and then changed back after the election. Shelby hired a new girl in September. She was pregnant and had her baby in November. Shelby was giving her all of our work to do. So Dorothy Fairbanks was the first to retire, then Sandy Filkins. When we got out from underneath the tax lid and Shelby gave the raises in May of '99, she gave the new girl 25-cent raise and me 17 cents. I asked her how come, and she said that's all I deserved. So I retired right then and there. In a few months, Glenda retired, and 6 months later, Shelby fired the new girl. Now I'd like to address the hospital situation. Our hospitals really need a defibrillator and a pacemaker machine to check the people who have pacemakers. I do. I have to go to Kobe or to Hayes to have my pacemaker checked. My husband was up here in hospice and he was dying. There was no hope for him at all. He had a defibrillator. So I went and told the doctor, and he said, "Oh my, I need to call Hayes to come out and unplug it." So John came from Hayes and unplugged it. Now, I had talked to Curtis Duncan 1 week before he passed away, and he told me his defibrillator was going off and on, off and on, off and on. And he was waiting to get into a specialist so they could do something about it because his hospital up here did not have anything to help him with it. When it goes off, it's like electrical shock. It knocks you clear to the floor. It'll knock you down. And now, when it's time for you to go to heaven, I know you go. But I think maybe he could have had an easier way to go instead of finding him at home dead. I really think the hospital should look into something like this. I hope you will take this into consideration at your next commissioners meeting. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those words, Bruce.
Anyone else?
So it's been 2 years since Jeff died and 1 year since Frankie Hayes died. I'd asked that we have a moment of silence and prayers for the families and people involved. Dear Lord, we want to lift up all the families involved with Frankie and Jeff Rediesel, and just bless them and comfort them in this time of day. In your name, Lord Jesus. Amen.
Anyone else?
You guys have any revisions on the minutes? Oh, sorry.
Father, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, your word declares that we, your people, who are called by your name, will humble ourselves. Wow, sorry about that. Okay. Sorry about that. We'll humble ourselves and pray and seek your face and turn from our wicked ways. Then you will hear from heaven, and you will forgive our sin and will heal our land. We bow before you, your sacred throne, and humbly ask your forgiveness for the sin of idolatry. Your word demands, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Yet we have, under the banner of pluralism and hedonism, embraced and worshiped the gods of the world. Take us back to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Through moral and spiritual compromise and complacency, we have allowed our nation to conform to the ways of the world by turning away from our spiritual roots found in your word. Our silence has produced a secular nation, and all nations that forget you shall be forsaken. We ask that you hear our cry, for we need you in these desperate times to lead us out of our politically correct fog of constant confusion and take us back to your moral clarity. O Lord our God, King of the universe, we confess that America cannot survive without your presence. Your statutes founded this blessed land, and we look to you, Father God, to preserve it. For blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. As commanded in Scripture, we pray for all who are in authority, who govern our nation. May their decisions be led by the perfect compass of your holy word, which clearly discerns right from wrong. O Lord our God, you have promised to raise up righteous leaders into high places and to remove those who have displayed unrighteous authority. We earnestly pray that you will once again exalt the righteous and expose the deeds of the ungodly. America must have a spiritual renewal for moral survival. In this season of prayer, we unite in humble, heartfelt hope and ask that you forgive us and deliver us from the folly of our transgressions. Guide and sustain our nation as we turn from our sin and return to you, the God of our fathers. In Jesus' name I pray.
Anyone else?
Well, some time ago, there was this meeting about the tire recycling place that was supposed to go in at Edson. And I just wondered if you could give an update on that, please.
We haven't given up. I know when they talked to us the very first time, it was going to be a 2-year process of getting things in order. I know they have purchased more land in the Edson area, and I know he's getting his funding together, but other than that, I haven't heard anything else on it. So,
No, I haven't either.
Haven't heard anything.
slow process.
Make a motion to pay the bills, the amount of $157,260.01 and $171,84.92.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded, we pay the bills. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of August 12th and the special meeting on August 15th.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, we approve the minutes of the 2 meetings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Michelle?
I wanted to bring something up before you come up, please.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about ADP. At our last workshop, that I attended anyway, I had the feeling that that's not what we wanted. That I was not very happy with what they were doing. I thought that they were going to change things to adapt to us, and it looks like it's going to be the other way. And I just don't feel like we are. I just don't think that's what we really wanted to have. And I'm afraid that even a year from now, it's going to cost us a little bit, but it's going to cost us a lot more to get out of this. And I personally would like to dissolve the contract with them. Now, you guys had another meeting, another workshop with them after I left, so I don't think what I heard, nothing changed from that other workshop to the one that we had. It's not doing what I thought they were going to do for us.
Well, I can tell you right now, if you try to get out of that contract, they're gonna hook you for everything face value of the contract.
And I know that, okay? And I also know, though, that if we ever, a year from now, if we want to go back to where we are right now, it'll probably cost us more than that. And my gut feeling says I just don't want to take that chance. If it was, you know, when we hire somebody to do something for us, we hire them to do it our way. And I feel like they want us to change the way that we're doing things to their way, which would almost block us from moving back. Instead of them making the changes to adapt to us,
Where does
adapting
this
to them.
information come from?
Well, just from our workshop that we had, Larry, Rod. That's just from what we were talking about.
It looked to me that the big hangup was import-export between CIC and ADP.
Well, there was a lot of discussion about our benefits, also from a little bit from our payroll. I believe that what they were trying to do, and what they're trying to do, is basically take over our whole entire accounting deal, and that's not what I had in mind. I wanted them to take what we were doing and watch that and look at that and advise us if we are doing things correctly. I don't want them to take over our accounting, and that's what they're doing. And
Well,
that's
you guys,
not what I want to
you
do.
guys gonna have to discuss that. My stance isn't gonna change. Okay, we're in the contract. I say we give it a shot. If it don't work, yes, we'll get back to where we were if it doesn't work.
See, I think that's going to cost us a lot, Rod, to get back. That's just my feeling, and that's not what I was looking for. I wasn't going to farm out our county. I wanted to try to do something to
When you bring
rebuild
in
it.
outside entities to look at your stuff, you are farming out certain portions of it. They have to have access. They have to see what we see, and perhaps more than what we see. So,
But it looks like they want us to change what we're doing so they can see that, instead of them
they
changing.
want us
so
to adapt. You adapt.
Yeah, that's right.
You do it. You accommodate each other. You adapt. It is what it is. I'm not changing my stance.
I understand.
You guys, and I'm not going to argue about it. You guys do what you want to do. My name's not going to be on that.
I understand that.
My name was on to sign up with them for a year trial basis, at very low cost to the public, ARPA funds, and that's it. That's where I'm at. You guys do what you want to do.
You know, I was against it from the top, but if we can't, they have not offered to even come out and take a look at how our system runs.
Like I said, I'm not. You don't have to justify your decision to me. I'm not moving on my stance on it. I think it's something that moving forward for the future is a good thing. Things aren't going to get easier. They're going to get more complicated. That's the way this world runs. So that's where I'm at.
I just don't think, Rod, that I just don't think it's what we want to do.
Okay,
I
you
don't.
made
So
that clear. I get it. You don't like it.
I
You
don't
seconded the motion. You were for it at first. Now you're not.
I'm not, because once I got into it and saw what they were doing,
Okay.
it changed my mind on because that's not where I wanted to go. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to reestablish trust within our county with the people that we serve.
When
And
I
it
when I
just-
don't want something, I don't vote on it.
Yeah.
That's how I run things. If I don't want it, I don't vote yes.
Well, see, what originally I thought that's what we were gonna be doing, that these were people were gonna take this and look at it and.
Make
that's
your
not
move.
what- Well, I'll make a motion that we dissolve this contract with ADP.
I'll second that motion.
Hold on, before you guys vote, just so that you're aware, if you do that, the termination clause in the contract, you need to understand the worst case scenario, you're gonna owe the full amount of the contract.
Seeing that they're wanting us to change, I agree that if they're making us change, it makes us change to where we have to stay with them, even if we don't like it. Maybe, I didn't touch it. Maybe we could, look at, maintaining the contract, but saying, we're not gonna change to fit you, you need to change to fit us. Because they could bring some good services to the county, like you said, to bring that trust back. But the thing is if they're changing you that first year to hook you in, so you have to pay year after year. So I can see what you're saying, Harvey, that's not right. But maybe just do the contract, but make it a stipulation that we're not gonna change our processes and our softwares and stuff. Because if they make us upgrade our softwares, then we're using their softwares instead of ours. Just an idea.
And that's the impression I have, and that's not what I wanted to do either, so. I just don't like that, so.
Well, if you guys wanna renegotiate the contract, that's on you. Renegotiate it.
I'd like to try and see what happens. We haven't really got into it, but,
But you're gonna be the ones doing it. You're gonna be the ones
we
making
understand
the
that.
phone calls, do the meetings, all that.
I mean, can you just not change stuff to what they want? You don't have to do what they say.
Yeah, but we can't get the import and export of it. That's the issue, that we can't get, information back if we go put it into their system.
Right.
And
So
that's.
why can't they buy the interface that'll work with our system?
Because they're the big kid on the block, and
Is there anything in the contract that says we have to change our software to match theirs?
Doesn't say anything about the software, but there's a provision in there about I'll say cooperation, for lack of a better phrase.
Right.
We have to cooperate in order to get the payroll changed over.
So I just don't, I think we need to stop it right now. I really do. Before we get too far along in there, and I know, and people, I'm the one who brought this up, and it is on me, and I did make this mistake. And I know it is I know it is grant money, and I apologize for that. Okay, and it is on me. Okay, but once I sat down and they started talking and I listened to what they had, I believe it's not what we want. I truly do. I guess I'd rather lose this grant money than down the road use your tax money to get out of it and cost us more. So that's just the way I feel right now.
Make your move.
So I made that
okay,
motion.
motion was on the floor. We've discussed it. Any other discussion? All those in favor of ending the ADP contract, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
All right.
Motion is passed, 2-3. So we will be in contact with them and see what we can work out.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Every year you get a letter from the state telling you how our office did on our compliance. And you'll probably get that next month, I don't know. But they break our compliance down to two categories, statistical and procedural. Statistical, what they look at is residential and commercial properties. They look at open market transactions of sales, and they take our appraised value divided by sale price to get their statistics. This year they did things a little differently. Usually they go by the median ratio, but because I think every county right now is having higher sale prices than normal, they were looking more of a range of our sales to get us whether we're in compliance or not. Just looking at our medians, we would have been out because we would have been, they want us to be between 90 and 110. So basically 10% within a sale price. We were on residential, we were about 13.9% low, and commercial 16.8% low, but we were within the range, so we got all the points. And then procedural looks at if we're following statutes and the guidelines that they set forth to do our analysis and setting values and all that, how we list our property and everything. But so the statistical is 50 points and the procedural is 50 points. And so we got all of our points. So we did get 100% this year. But I didn't print one copy off for each of you. I can email that if you each want one. Just figure it's a waste of paper otherwise.
Okay.
But I just wanted to show you how we were doing. And I think you get a letter that says we're in compliance, but I just wanted to show you what exactly we're looking at and all the different phases of things we have to do to meet their requirements. That's all I had.
When we're talking the median ratios and where we're 13 points or 13% low, that surprises me with the price of housing like it was.
So that's for 2023. Looks at January 1, 2023 value versus all the sales in 2023. They look at every open market transaction. So, which when I say open market, they're validating sales based off what's on the sales validation questionnaire. So sometimes those are marked open market and they may not be, but they look at all of those. And so, yeah, it's when you look at the sales overall, yeah, like on residential, that's the range. I think it says on there in the parentheses where the sale, however many sales they used, it shows what the range of the sales were. I think it says 62% to 92 or something like that.
Right. 62, median ratio on commercial was 61.2 to 108.6.
Yeah.
So wide fluctuation in that.
Yeah, and commercial's really hard to figure out sometimes because we want to know just what the real estate is worth, just the land and the buildings. And a lot of commercial properties, when they sell, they're selling on the income approach. So they're looking at, like a hotel, they're adding in their bed, room furniture, the room furniture, what the business is worth, what the franchise is worth. So we do phone calls on those trying to find out what just the real estate's worth, but not always are we able to figure that out because some people, they don't really care just what that piece is worth. They care what the property's worth in the business. So it gets a little complicated sometimes, but we do call and do our best to figure out what is just the real estate value so that we're not including something that we don't want to be comparing, to other properties. A hotel is a good example. Usually when those sells, there's kind of a franchise fees are usually a certain percentage, and they usually consider a certain percentage for personal property and so much. So we deduct that from the sale price to come up with, to get a value so that we're just looking at the land and buildings. That makes sense?
Yes.
And same on residential. If SVQ says it included something like, say, a riding lawnmower, we call the buyer and seller and ask if there was something in the contract that said that mower was worth, X amount of dollars. And then we exclude that from the sale price so that we're not comparing that property to every other property that didn't include that in the sale price. So, yeah.
And I know I talked to you probably a month ago when the appraisal values came out from the state on land.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't put legal descriptions on
Oh, those R&R letters?
Yes.
Yep, so those actually come from the clerk's office, and I talked to Ashley about that, see if we can get some, talk to CIC and get those changed.
That was
So- Oh, yeah,
the phone calls that I got, that was their biggest issue, that they, well, what was this
yeah.
land for?
I mean, I look at that letter, I can't tell you what, you know, if they own 20 properties, I can't tell you which property it is either. Yeah, so we'll get it changed next year. The parcel number that it pulls on there is a tax ID number, so it's not necessarily the number that we use. So we want to get the number that we use and then get the legals on there. And I think we can get situs address. There's a few other things that we can get changed that we didn't realize we could get on there this year. There's some other things about that form I'd like to see changed too, but I don't know if it's a CIC thing or a legislator thing, but it'd be nice if they had totals on there.
Yes.
You know, when you have a million numbers on a form, it doesn't mean anything but the total. If it had, you know, what the total was last year, what the total is proposed to be, you know, then you can actually,
Right.
you know, that
Good
make more
percentage
sense to
Yeah.
change,
people.
Yeah,
So-
because if you saw last year's and you saw the
Yeah.
proposed and there's $100 difference, well, then you know,
You know
okay.
your tax are gonna do, but
Yeah.
when you just see like the extension district went up and it's gonna have to have a revenue neutral rate hearing, that doesn't necessarily mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
So, but, and you know, it's a little overwhelming when you throw that many numbers on any form. So, yeah, hopefully we can, I know the legislators that they wrote that form originally and, they're trying to get it uniform county to county, which, you know, I work in 3 counties and each one of those letters is different, so.
Yeah.
We still got a ways to go to get those letters uniform, but hopefully we can get them better.
Well, that's what we have to do is
Yeah.
see what can be improved and
Definitely
then
need
work
legals
on
on
it.
there.
You know, sometimes it just takes a little bit longer to get the information out and to,
Yeah, and that form's, I think this is what, the 3rd year for it. So it's, you know, with government, when you send something out once a year, there's always some tweaking that needs to be done. And, you know, there's many different software companies in the state that counties use. So trying to get them all on the same page on a form, you know, is something that government just works slow sometimes. So hopefully we'll get it there next year. I already have a plan to, Senator Tyson, she was the one that implemented that form first. So I already have a plan to talk to her and see if, you know, they can get that form tweaked a little bit. So I'm sure she gets a lot of calls on it, that people not understanding how to read it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I want the legals on there too.
Yeah.
You know, I had that one lady that she called you and she had
Yeah.
about 20 properties and, you know, when it's ag land, it is hard to figure out what's what. You know, they're all the same classification, so you can't look at it and say, oh, this one's my house and this one's our farm.
Right.
And-
There's just several pieces
Yeah.
of farmland and
But I do appreciate that a lot of people have come in and wanted to know which property it is, so we were able to get that information straightened out. And then personal property is even a little stranger the way it prints on there, so we were able to get that figured out. And so, you know, it's kind of like a hearing before tax season starts, but I feel like it's able to get people their information so they can see what their taxes are based off of. And ag did go down for the most part this year,
Yes.
so that's, you know, they're like, well, how my value go down, but some of the taxes might be going up, so that letter's good. You can see the breakdown of where your money's going. And a lot of people, they think, you know, the county sends out the tax bill, that the county is the one that's getting all that money. So it is nice to see that, you know, you have about 10 different categories of people getting your tax dollars to see, you know, in the
Right.
schools and the extension and county and all that. So
How long do you think that ag value will trend down?
I think the next few years it'll keep going down because it's an 8-year average, but it starts from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think in the mix I've seen, it's still going to be going down for a while.
Good.
Now irrigation, we don't know what the base prices are going to do yet for 25, but we didn't get water reports last year, so we got them this year. And there's a lot of irrigation changes this year, so a lot of pivots that change sizes. Some are smaller, some are bigger. a lot more water used. And so the more water you use, the higher the value. Kind of works sometimes, but
See, some of that is, that was the last year of the previous Lima program. And some of the guys, if they had water, they wanted to get it used up, and that's where we
yeah.
found that, pumped more water last year. Well, then that again affects,
Yeah,
the
and so our
upcoming-
water reports we got this year, I think the current year on those is 2022, and it looks at they give us 5 years to look at. So we kind of look at a 5-year median so that we're throwing out the highs and the lows and going from there. But we've had normally in year to years, the pivot size doesn't change, but I know, in the last few years, we've had a lot of storms where those pivots have been damaged. So I think when people put up new ones, they either put another section on or they made them a smaller section. So the amount of acreage has changed this year. So I think next year we'll probably have quite a few irrigation changes, and hopefully we can get all those people, they can come in when they get their value and we can see, and we also have those water reports, they're self-reported by the farmer or the owner or somebody, not always the person that's doing the watering. And so there are times where I have one particular person, he has 2 wells on his property. One well pumps into the other well to get enough pressure. And so the way that report comes to us, if we just went in the black and white how the report is, he would be being overvalued on his water. But, we know his situation, so I have a note every year that we have to work his a little different. But there are times where the way people report it isn't always, as black and white as it sounds. So I have some,
that's.
yeah. So when you have
I have 2 wells that are about like that too,
So if you have any questions on your irrigation, comment. But we have about 1,000 water rights here, and a lot of them overlap each other. So those get really complicated how we have to work those and how the reports are. So it's a lot of work that goes into those water. And like I said, the information goes somewhere. Now I believe you guys have to report it electronically, but it used to be handwritten.
Right.
So there'd be times where I'd have someone come in and what was entered into the state software wasn't what the report said, but it was just a matter of they couldn't read the numbers.
Yeah, I think it's only been electronically like the last 2 or 3 years. So we don't have the backup data as of such yet to see where the trends are and stuff.
Now, usually when someone comes in, I pull those reports, and the first thing I do is show it to the owner and say, are these your numbers? Does this look right? Because sometimes it's the tenant that reported it.
Right.
And they may not have got exactly the information that was needed. So it's the best information we have at this point. So for the most part, it's accurate. There's always, some difference. I always say we do things one way, except. There's always an exception to certain things because not everything fits in a box. How you do it.
Now, you talked about that Lima stuff. Okay, you come into the end of the year, you got water left. So you got to pump more water, right? Because
you can pump more
you
water.
can't see what the state should be doing is incentivizing you to not have to pump more water. They should buy that water back from you, the rights that are left over each year, and that would solve 2 problems.
Well, I agree with that, but the only thing is, because of rotations and stuff, say like myself, I had wheat, so I didn't pump as much water.
Right.
But on a 5-year average, I know that next year when I put corn on, I'm gonna need a little bit more. So if I can take some of what I had left over from last year, the big issue is that at the end of the 5 years, if you're over, it gets very, very expensive, like a $10,000 a day fine for over pumping. And so that's where they put more teeth into it. And I know last time there was some very upset people that got some hefty fines. So again, it's going to be. I remember going to commissioner meetings 3 or 4 years ago, And Hayes says it isn't gonna matter what you want, cause we're gonna be needing to buy that water. And now Wichita's, hurting and that, and so there's a lot of concern about that water. And,
If they make the farmers conserve water, pumping it, somebody else is gonna use it somewhere down the line. So,
Yeah.
So water conservation is kind of just a term. It's not a reality.
no,
Well, they want you to, I want to use all the water I want, but you
Yeah.
need to conserve yours.
Yeah.
That's
That's
what, a lot of
exactly
times what the attitude is that everybody doesn't look at it as we all need to do it.
No.
But, yeah, the way we get water reported to us is by the acre feet, and a lot of people tell me it is like a 5-year bank that you have. Like your acre feet might be 200, and you might use 80 this year, and you can use, so that next year you can use 120 or whatever. So, yeah, yeah.
they're working on some programs to figure out maybe, okay, if you don't use it all, we'll let you lap over a percentage, but you won't, if you have 45% of your allocated water left over, you might only get 20% of that to start putting it into a savings bank of that. But the biggest one is the 5-year plan. If you're over on that 5-year plan, then
Yeah, it's a fine.
Yeah.
I had a commissioner that told me he went over, and it was a situation where he was out of town, and something happened with his pump in the gauge. So it was an equipment failure, but he went over, and the fine, I was shocked how much the fine was. And I was like, well, is there any way you can fight that? Because it's a one-time thing that's ever happened to you. And he's like, nope. It is what it is.
There's groundwater district board or station in Colby has gone out, and they're checking more meters and putting a separate new cable on them that says that, we check this meter and stuff, and the meters break down, and if they do, the best thing you can do is call Water Resources right away, groundwater district, and say, I have a broken meter, what do we do? And, they trained us, or trying to train us to, that every time we change the oil on the well, we take a picture of the water meter so that we have a history of, okay, you used this much water this week, this much water this week, now the meter broke down. Well, if you have a trend of several weeks of using pretty much the same amount of water, then they're gonna be a little more understanding toward it.
Yeah.
So,
I think overall we'll still see our ag values going down unless legislators have any changes.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
So,
for
yeah.
your good work and diligence, and we'll keep sending people your way. If I
Sounds
get phone
good.
calls, I just
That's
refer them to
good.
you.
Yep.
All right.
I'm joining us to the auditors meeting. Just a heads up, the meeting started at 8:30, so in 15 minutes it may end, and we might have to join another.
Okay.
You all have it on your iPads and your email. If you want to just,
The letters?
what he's going to be showing you. If you want to see it closer up.
They came on our emails, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Steve,
Come back to order, or what we're gonna do?
just tell Aaron you're there.
Okay. I don't have anything yet on the phone. What do we need?
No, it's.
He can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, Aaron.
Morning, how are you guys?
Good. You?
Good. Got some rain last night, so
Wow, that's bragging.
yeah, I know. I didn't know if I should bring that up. Thinking I better check
Yeah.
if they got rain
Yeah,
first before I say
hope,
that.
I
'cause
hope you got an area-wide one, because we get a lot of hit and miss out here yet, so.
yeah, it looked like it was pretty widespread, but I don't know for sure on that. So,
Okay, good. So what can we do with you, or what can we follow along with?
all right, I'm sharing my screen, which is the Sherman County financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2023. Can you guys all see that? Or I think Ashley was going to email it to you to have on your iPads.
Yeah, we've got it.
Right.
Okay. Well, I kind of just go through this. Now, if you have questions at any time, just feel free to stop me and ask. But we'll kind of jump into this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to page 1. So this is our opinion on the financial statement for the year ended December 31st, 2023. As you can see there, we do have the adverse and unmodified opinions, which again, we first have to have that adverse opinion on U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. By law, every entity must use generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP, unless they're allowed to use another basis of accounting. And as a municipality of the state of Kansas, you guys are allowed to waive GAAP and use the regulatory basis accounting, which you guys do with that annual resolution. So this is just to let the users of the financial statements know that the financial statements are prepared in an other basis of accounting. But if it were to be prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, it's presumed there would be material variances. Again, nothing the county's doing wrong. It's just the standards the standard wording we have to put in these opinions. But if you look at the third paragraph, the unmodified opinion on regulatory basis accounting, this is our opinion on the financial statements under that regulatory basis accounting. And we've stated it's presented fairly in all material respects, the aggregate cash and unencumbered cash balances of the county as December 31st, 2023, and the aggregate receipts and expenditures in accordance with the financial reporting provisions of the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide. So basically, this is an unmodified opinion, which is the cleanest opinion that we can give. Okay?
Okay.
We'll skip over the rest of the opinion. It's just kind of our standard wording that we have to hear. Your guys' responsibilities for the financial statements, our responsibilities, auditors, and so forth. Okay?
Okay.
So now if you'll turn to page 4 or scroll to page 4, this is the basic financial statement that we are issuing our opinion on. It's a 2-pager. One of the main caveats of the regulatory basis of accounting is the cash basis law, which states that all funds must end the year with either a zero or positive cash balance unless it meets one of the exceptions provided by statutes to have a negative cash balance. So what we'd be looking at is the ending unencumbered cash balance. So by law, unless it meets one of the exceptions, all these balances should be either zero or have a positive cash balance. So as you can see on this first page, and then also on the second page, all the funds did have a zero or positive cash balance. So you guys were in compliance with the cash basis law. So again, this is just going to kind of give you beginning unencumbered cash, year-to-date receipts, year-to-date expenditures, ending unencumbered cash, encumbrances, and accounts payable. So these are expenditures that are charged against the 2023 budget. They just haven't come out of cash yet. The checks just haven't been written. Okay, to get to our ending cash balance. Okay, and then if we'll go to page 2 is the continuation of the special purpose funds. We've got the 2 bond and interest funds for the Salesforce Road project, which that one is completed now, and then the bond and interest fund for the PBC bonds. Okay, then we've got our business type funds, our trust funds, and then the related municipal entities. So the Sherman County, Kansas Public Building Commission, as an entity, as a municipality under the definitions of statutes, they would have to get an audit done But as an RME, you guys can elect to include them with your financial statements to meet that audit requirement. So since you guys are pretty much handling the monies for that and all that, you guys have elected to include that. So that would be the information for the Public Building Commission. Basically, it's the rental payments that are made out of the bond and interest fund to the debt service fund to then for the PBC to make the bond and interest payments on those GO bonds. Okay, and then down below is where that total cash balance of a little over 15.5 million, where it's at between your checking accounts, savings accounts, certificates of deposits, cash on hand to come up for the total reporting entity, and then back out the distributable and agency funds for Schedule 3 to come up to the total cash for the total reporting entity. Okay?
Okay,
All right, starting on page 6 are the notes to the financial statement. Again, the very first notes is just to kind of describe how Sherman County, Kansas was established under the uniform system of accounting maintained to reflect compliance with applicable laws of the state of Kansas. Then we've got our financial reporting entity to kind of just let the users know that this financial statement not only includes the county's information, but the Sherman County, Kansas Public Building Commission. Okay, and then we get to the different types of funds that the county has and what they can be used for. So general fund is your chief operating fund. It can basically be used for any county reason. And then you've got your special purpose funds where those specific revenues, whether it be tax levies or other revenue sources, can only be used for intended specified purpose. Bond and interest fund and so forth. Okay. We're not going to spend a lot of time on these notes. A lot of these are pretty much the same from last year. They don't change a whole lot. There's just a few I like to point out. So if we'll go to note 10, this is talking about the Kansas Public Employee Retirement System that Sherman County is a member of. The one thing I like to point out is the net pension liability. So every year, Capers does have an audit performed, and they come up with their net pension liability, which is basically the assets they have on hand and the estimated contributions or distribution payments that they would have to make. That's how short assets are of those liabilities. So they take that liability and they split it amongst the different subgroups, which all the cities, counties are in a subgroup, the school districts are in a different subgroup, and then they allocate that net pension liability with the subgroup amongst the various entities. So as of December 31st, 2023, the county's share of that net pension liability was a little over $3.5 million. I always like to point this out because that's not money that this county has to have earmarked or set aside for that net pension liability. That's made up through, as you guys know, that there's 6% that the employees contribute, and then there's a portion that the employers contribute. Every year that rate adjusts a little bit to kind of make up for that, but they can only adjust it so much each year. So if you go up to the paragraph before, for the year ended December 31st, 2023, this county's contribution rate was 8.43%, and the county contributed $321,277 toward the Capers plan. But again, until those Caper 1s and Caper 2 members start dropping off, that net pension liability is not going anywhere. Okay, page 15. This is the debt in the county as of December 31st, 2023. So the top part is the debt that's in the county's name. You've got the Series 2012 refunding bonds that were paid off during the year ended December 31st, 2023. And then we've got our 2 finance leases. So as part of the bonds that the PBC issued, so PBC issues the bonds, and then they entered into a lease for you guys to basically lease that facility. And then you guys are levying the taxes, and then you're sending it as rental payments to the PBC to pay off these bonds below. So basically this lease up here is going to match this information down here below. Okay?
got it.
All right, and then these are the maturity requirements. So these are the principal and interest payment requirements for the next 5 years, and then the 5-year increments after that through the date of maturity. So just kind of gives you an idea of what's upcoming as far as lease payments and so forth that we'll either, have to levy taxes for to meet those payments. Okay, this is the start of the regulatory required supplementary information. It's not part of the basic financial statement, but is required to be presented under KMAC, okay, for additional purposes and so forth. So this first schedule, so just like I said, one of the main caveats of regulatory basis accounting is the cash basis law. The other one is the budget law. So every year you guys adopt that budget that shows the patrons what you're going to limit your spending in, the funds that are required to be budgeted. So this first column is our certified budget. This was what was adopted. Then we've got adjustment for qualifying budget credits. So these are basically reimbursements for current year expenditures that you basically get to increase your budget authority for to come up to our total budget for comparison, and then comparing it to the expenditures charged to the current year. So when looking at the variance over under column, what we want to see are things in parentheses, meaning expenditures came in under budget, which as you can see on all your funds, they were either under budget or spend out the total budget authority that you have. Okay, starting on page 18, these are the individual fund financial statements. These are going to give you more details of the revenue and expenditures by fund with comparison to the previous year, and then comparing the current year to the budget. But again, we can look at these variance over under lines. Some are going to be under, some are going to be over. But when it comes to statutory authority, it looks at it in total. Okay, so as you can see in the general fund, last year receipts were a little over 4 million. This year it was 4.52 million. A little bit with the increase in the tax dollars due to the increased valuation, a little increase in the motor vehicle, ambulance receipt, and the big increase was the interest on investments that you earned on your idle funds due to the increased interest rates being paid by your financial institutions. And then we've got your expenditures starting broken out by your various departments. You got county commissioners, county clerk, county treasurer, so forth. And then we get down here, then we get down to our total expenditures and comparing expenditures to our revenues. So for the year ended December 31st, 2023, expenditures exceeded receipts by a little over 66,000. So our unencumbered cash dropped from a little over 1.7 million down to 1.69 million. So all in all, still a very healthy cash reserve in your general fund. Okay, starting on page 21, these are our special purpose funds. So these are funds that are levied for specific reasons. So again, just like the appraiser, these are the dollars that we levy and go to cover appraiser costs. I don't usually spend a lot of time on these unless something just jumps out that's unusual from previous years. I wasn't aware of any of things like that. So we're just going to kind of look at the big ones. So here's your county health funds, another one of the big departments. Here's your employee benefit funds. Again, that one kind of varies, again, with claims and so forth. So you'll kind of build up some cash and then we'll eat into that cash if we've got a lot more claims during the year, which you guys did during 2023. These are kind of just monies that you levy and then it's appropriated. So it's in and out. County home maintenance, county hospital maintenance, noxious weeds, kind of one of the smaller departments. But again, here's that one. I'm trying to get to, here's road and bridge. This is another one of the bigger departments within the county, just because of the sheer number of things that they do for the county as far as road and bridge repair. I'm going to have to leave and start a new meeting real quick. So I'm going to have to bounce out and I'll be right back in. Eric, are you good?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sometimes them numbers run together a lot.
Yeah.
The time, so a little bit of an inconvenience, but it is what it is. So again, so like we're sitting here at the Road and Bridge Fund, so as you can see, basically the revenues that you brought in covered the expenditures, used up a little bit of cash reserves, but again, all in all, Road and Bridge is pretty good shape too from a cash reserve standpoint. Okay, I think we're going to kind of skip over the bulk of these unless there's some specific funds that you want to look at. We can always come back to these. But for the time being, we're going to skip ahead several pages to the agency funds. Okay, so these are funds that are currently in the county's possession, but do not belong to the county until certain requirements are met. Okay, so these first ones these are distributed funds. So these are tax dollars that were collected through December that are going to get distributed as part of the distribution process in January. So some of these monies belong to the county, and some of these monies are going to go down here to these subdivision and trust funds and then get appropriated to the various school districts within the county, township, cities, regional libraries, so forth. Okay. Then we've got these are just kind of some of the things that we got to do. These are state mandated. Okay. And then here are our other agency funds. So these are departments that have bank accounts that are required by statute or been established by resolution that are in their possession. So we've got the court trustee, the clerk of the district court, and the law library. Okay, any questions on the audit report?
I don't have any at this time.
Okay. We also did the agreed upon procedures on the solid waste landfill to meet your guys' annual requirement for that permit renewal. There was a late change by KDHE to the CFO letter, so we're getting those changes implemented. And as soon as we have that CFO letter updated, I will get that sent to you guys so that we can get that CFO letter signed and we can get that filed with KDHE for that permit renewal, okay? But as far as the agreed upon procedures, you guys were in compliance with all the financial ratio tests that is required by KDHE that they've established for those municipal solid waste. So as far as that was concerned, there was no issues with the AUP. I just didn't have it ready. We're trying to get that CFO letter updated. We're trying to do that as fast as possible. Okay.
Okay.
Well, if you don't have any questions for me, I'll turn it back over to you, Stephen, and I will sign off.
All right. Thank you very much, Aaron.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you to Tina and Ashley for getting this and getting things taken care of here.
Here's the management letter for you guys to sign, or you can authorize her and I to sign it, however you want to do that, for the audit.
So they were asking me if that report's public.
It should be.
The audit report,
I believe so. I can check for sure, but I think it is.
don't we, but this one is a draft copy. He will send us he
He put the 4 copies in the mail today.
okay, so we can make a copy of that and make that public.
Because it'd be nice if the public could see what he was actually talking about. Can't really read it on the screen that small.
I think all counties, I think, are actually on the municipal services website, if you want to look at any county.
we publicize that before the meeting and people can pull it up and have it available. What'd you say?
Steve, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Is the county at any time on balloon payments?
Pardon me?
Is the county right now on any balloon payments?
Balloon payment?
No, not that I know of. We have a lease on a compactor, but I think it's a fixed rate all the way through. So we have no balloon payments at this time, or will be coming up with any. For those of you that don't understand why we lease, is because the county cannot go and borrow money for a project. So like when we bought the landfill compactor, we lease it from the bank, and I think that was a 5-year lease. And we pay a fixed price every year, and that way we can get the updated equipment, but still not have to borrow the money.
Ashley, can you tell us how to get to that particular spot to look at that?
Yeah, can I email it to you? Cause
Uh-huh.
I have to look
Yeah,
at it
yeah.
myself.
Sure. That way I can put it in the information.
We need a motion to sign this, correct?
Yes, please.
Okay, do I hear a motion to sign the contract with Allen Brown LLC for the audits and provide financial statements from Sherman County?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we accept the contract with Allen Brown LLC. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. It has 2 signature lines. Is that?
You can all 3 sign this.
Okay.
Sign below.
Everybody get a chance to see the fire board minutes?
Yep.
Any questions there? Alright. We have a request to lease the fairgrounds for June 7th and 9th of 2025 for a sheep showmanship given by Deanna Henderson. Using the 4-H training camp. They've got their $500,000, and they will agree to clean up. Do we have any other questions about that?
Make a motion to approve the lease for 2025.
25, June 7th through the 9th. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. We lease fairgrounds for showmanship, sheep showmanship. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. We have a bid here from Hitchcock's for a generator for the courthouse. Because as I understand, we're putting one here so the sheriff's office has theirs and they don't have to try bringing it over to support the courthouses.
They can't.
Huh?
They actually can't.
Okay,
It's against code to have two sources of electricity to a singular building because then
Okay.
it's unknown, it's a safety factor. So it has to be a separate power source.
So is there a reason why we need a generator here?
Yeah, basically all county communications comes through this building. So the internet and phone services come to this building and from this building go out to all the other county sites. So if this building goes down, the health department loses internet, phone, road and bridge, same thing. Every department loses, even though they have generators and they may be up and running, just like the sheriff's office. He can be running, but if this building's down, he loses connection to the servers, internet and phones.
How large a unit is that?
So what was the code that they couldn't connect?
Electrically, you cannot have
you just
two
look at it.
power sources coming into the same building. So for instance, power coming from the sheriff's office and power coming from the meter. Because if you shut off the main coming into the courthouse, you still have power coming.
Only time it come in, the power's fell. I don't understand that because, code hadn't changed in the last 10 years. So
I'm just telling you what I was told by the
if
electrician.
you have a generator here or generator there, you're still bringing in two sources.
But there's a transfer switch that cuts off.
Right, that's what we have, it transfers out.
But if we lost power but you didn't, and they came over here to work, I was told it was a safety hazard because then you still have power feeding to this building when they assumed it was off.
It's a huge expense to have a second generator, I just tell you that. It's like, I don't understand it. I don't know what codes changed, because you can do a transfer switch here that would trigger the generator to start and speed it here. I mean, there's so many things you could do. That's a big generator, it's much bigger than what I need, so.
What I was told from the electrician was that generator was not big enough to run both buildings.
Well, it doesn't run the whole building, it runs a certain circuit.
Okay. But again, everything I was told came from a licensed electrician.
I changed code.
Okay,
Can the city, does the city concur with that as far as the code enforcement on what the electrician is saying? I mean, I would assume so.
I didn't ask, I didn't feel like I had a reason to.
I think
Can.
me,
It's
I
a
think
national
so,
electric code?
I don't think it's a city code. I think it's a city, or I think it's a safety hazard for electrical people.
The worker.
maybe I'd like to talk to Marty and, so if we can
Problem
take,
is, they poured the concrete, so there's no way to put the cables in now.
well,
Yeah.
Well,
So how-
actually, it would all go right out next to the pedestal where the main's coming in. And they'd already discussed how they would get power back from a transfer switch mounted right there to the mains.
So did they remove the cabling from that generator to this building?
Yes, we had to.
Because
because of
it was
the alley
shallow.
construction.
Yeah. Okay.
They didn't want to pull the box off the wall when they pulled the cable. They just pulled them out.
So it looks like we're on that.
we're on a,
Plus, it wasn't to the whole courthouse either.
Right.
it was just to
It
this
was
office.
my tiny little office within that whole office. So that was all that ran,
Now, what's this supposed to run? Everything?
everything in this whole building,
Okay.
which allows other buildings to still have server access, email, phone.
Okay, now go ahead, Bert.
The electrical, if you ran just a certain circuit, you'd have the internet and all that if it was wired right, because they had everything, the reason they did it that way, so that the servers would stay up and the county would stay connected. If your circuits need to be tied into that, if they're not, then you probably get that updated. Or buy a generator and generate for the whole building.
Okay, now, can I get this thing billed out in time to use ARPA funds to pay for that?
Yeah, Mark with Hitchcock said it was a very short lead time on these right now. on the generator.
That's how I would do it.
Just go for it and confirm the contract with, because they just set that. The only thing that is not included in this is the running of the 1.8 million BTU natural gas service line. 50 foot of pipe. So. I entertain a motion to,
Steve, do you have questions that you want answered from Marty?
there's a couple of things that, you know,
I can, just tell me what you want, and I can get an answer from Marty,
well,
if you wanna wait.
but we can get, I just, you know, if it covers it, if he's just gonna wire this into the whole courthouse, everybody would be back up and running and it wouldn't, affect daily operations, because the generator that we were on, that only provided service to
Very small portion.
a very small portion. This way, everybody's got it. And not only does it protect the server, but it, you know, protects everything else in the building. I'm good then. I'm good. So I entertain a motion to do a contract with Hitchcock Incorporated for a Generac generator.
Make that motion.
Have a motion?
We add to that to make sure that they get it done in time that we can use our grant money for that.
I know they'll get it done in time, but yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
you did want ARPA funds.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Excuse me, can you tell us what the amount might be?
the amount is total without the gas line is $54,074. No cents. You second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. You want to talk about, I assume you.
This is a proposal from DWA. That's Dudley Williams and Associates, PA. It's an engineering firm. We had a representative from the company come look at the jail, do a prelim overview so that she could present this to the actual engineer. Perform a site visit to generally visually review the building, prepare a report document for observation and recommendations, attend a virtual meeting to discuss our report with your office and or the owner. It's basically a structural inspection of the jail. And the cost for that engineer's report will be $5,200 even, and reimbursable expenses. I guess what that'll give you basically is if there's ever discussion about remodeling, adding on to, whatever, you've got an engineer's report that states that the main structure overall is either thumbs up or thumbs down to do that. It's probably not 100% necessary, but I think if you get into a situation where you're gonna wanna do a bond, you're gonna need an engineer's report. So we've got ARPA funds to do that, and that's the only way I would approve this, is if they could get it built out. You guys, you got your input. Regardless, we'll have it on file. We don't have one. We've never had one, an engineer's report on it.
I know we need to have it done. So I'd make a motion to go ahead and hire this, especially if we're using our funds for it.
Okay, Ashley, you just have to make sure they understand.
Yep.
What's going on. Okay, I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded, we accept Desiree Miller's proposal for using ARPA funds to get a structural engineering report and see what we got.
Did it say on there when a projection time would be? I mean, it doesn't matter as long as they get it built out, if it, you know.
I think they want payment right away. Payment up front.
Oh, I'm sure.
I do not see any dates in
Okay.
here.
Well, right.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor say aye, especially if we can use ARPA funds.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Mr. DeBoer, I assume you come to see my handsome face and nothing else, right?
I just happened to be here, so I thought I'd stop by.
Okay,
Worked out well.
so how are things looking?
They should finish up by next Friday, except for
Okay.
maybe the striping and sealing. But all the concrete should be poured out and curbs backfilled by Friday. So
Okay.
they're moving right along. So there has been a couple changes along the way, so it will be a little bit over what they,
More concrete, more dirt moving?
we added some concrete right in front of or south of the sheriff's office. There was a rock area there. It was 5 foot by 30 feet. We went ahead and poured that, so it's all sidewalk there now. Makes that a lot better. And then we didn't realize that they had to back into their parking stalls, the sheriff's vehicles. So we had them all, for one way coming this way, had them all angling that way. So we had to switch them the other direction so they can pull forward and then back in. So we had to change the very southeast end so it'll work for backing in.
But
We
that
had that
was,
angled the wrong way.
but that was done before concrete was poured and that was figured
Before it
out?
was poured, but it's gonna add a little more concrete.
Okay.
It's gonna be a little bit there. And then we removed that old tin building, that shed. So we're gonna pour sidewalk along that curb there. That wasn't included either, so there's gonna be some minimal changes there.
That had historical significance.
I hope you don't wanna put it back.
No, but Rod would like it moved to his place. you
No.
know. For history's sake.
It needs to be gone because that is such a dangerous spot where people step out. When someone's coming down the alley, it's such a blind spot, so I will.
So that's, I mean, it's gonna be, well, I didn't put any numbers to that, but it shouldn't be any more than 5,000 for all that. It'll be a little bit of additional.
I did ask Gerald to get a bid together for new back steps, because they're starting to crumble also,
Okay.
so.
And he has not got that to me yet, but I'll get that to you.
Yep.
We discussed possibly not having them, I don't know if you guys know, you go out and then you turn,
Turn.
which
Yeah.
there's not really a need for that, it could just go straight down. So,
When we looked at that, we talked about they probably used to use it to back up
Yeah,
to. And
if you go straight down, you won't go use it for a loading dock.
right.
but you could still use it as a loading dock, just if we set a lot of pad off to the side, right? Not backing a vehicle up to it, but you could still walk up there and grab something off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most we load is totes out of there. Extension and.
And other than that, I mean, he's also gonna give a price just to make them look.
Yeah.
That may be the way to go.
Okay.
That's all I had. Just wanted to update you on the project.
Okay, thank you.
We should be wrapping it up by the end of next week.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Got some mail here, I don't know what it is. This is for the landfill. Quarterly monitoring. No violations of organic compounds or anything like that. That's what I wanted to see. So, this is to commemorate the affiliation with between Fort Hays State and Northwest Tech. I invited on September 10th, 5 p.m. on Looters Field. And that's a joint with Goodland, Hayes, and Beloit as the new affiliation of the 3 locations. So that,
What was the date on that?
pardon?
What was the date on that?
For Goodland is September 10th at 5
September
p.m.
10th.
Mountain Time.
Where at, did you say?
It's at southwest corner of the campus, Looters Field, I think the soccer field.
There's a KDHE permits for all the feedlots
Okay,
in Sherman County.
did they list them? Did they list the?
Yes, they're all individually listed.
Okay.
This could go to Rod Roder.
Oh, okay. And this is just historical society minutes from the last meeting. Is there anything else that needs to be brought?
I believe so.
I talked to, Glenn Teal called me and he has pulled the soil samples down at the Smoky. And we're just waiting for results there.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.